Welcome back to In the Mountains. Here I am in the National Forest. I've got a firewood permit. A few more loads to go on it for this month. And I got this hemlock here. There's a few considerations working in here. This particular stand of trees blew over last winter, and there was a large group of trees that came down, like a big cluster. This hemlock is kind of wedged in between some other trees, so it is definitely a loaded tree. Now these trees that came down are situated on the side of a mountain, not far from the Forest Service Road, at approximately 2,000 feet. I've cleared a few logs out of here already and rolled them down the embankment down to where my truck is. This one, I just want to make sure I got room to work in, because this thing is going to definitely want to spring up as I'm cutting it. So I want to make sure I've got room to get out of the way. So here I am, I'm taking my undercut, and we'll see will this. Now it is key that you're mindful of keeping your distance away from this tree, because it is loaded and it will come back at you. You don't want to get your head in the way, because that could be fatal. Now we'll go ahead and cut the top. See what happens. As you can see, the force of the tree wedged in there was unleashed when I cut the top off of that, and luckily I was prepared for it. My body was out of the way. The tree did not hit me. The camera flew up in the air along with my scrunch tool, but both survived the incident unscathed. Now the log is sprung up into a more manageable area to work in. Again, my footing here is a little questionable at times, so I have to make sure that I'm cutting in a safe location. So I'm being careful with every step and making sure that that log that's dangling doesn't come and do anything funny like it did when I first cut it. So this log still has quite a bit of weight to it, being down for less than a year. It still has some weight to it compared to a lot of the other logs around there, which have had a chance to dry out a little bit more, or split off and dry faster. This one's been shaded under the canopy for several seasons. Now I noticed when I was working here I had quite a few yellow jackets swarming around. And the peculiar thing about these yellow jackets were that they did not seem to be bothered by the sound of the chainsaw. They were flying right next to it. So I'm working around that a bit. Luckily I wasn't stung when I was back in here, but definitely there was no shortage of yellow jackets being kind of pestering. As I'm working my way down the length of this log, I'm just making sure I'm not getting stung and making sure I have a solid footing, and I'm making safe cuts. Now, since this hemlock is not very wide in diameter, I really am not having to give this saw a lot of gas when I'm cutting through this. It really just kind of doing a quick, easy slice, just giving it a little bit of fuel. On the saw, I'm running a full skip chain, STIHL MS311. Got a 20-inch bar on this, and it's really not being bogged down at all by a log this size. So there you can see I just was swatting at a yellow jacket who was flying right around the saw. So I might have stirred the nest a bit when I was working back here, and with the sun coming out, they definitely are very active at this point, and I'll have to contend with them for the rest of the time working back in this area. There, one just flew by the camera, you can see. Yellow jacket. Now, with as big as these swarms were back here, I'd estimate there was probably saw 100 of them flying around. Yet they weren't super aggressive, so luckily I wasn't stung by the tree or the bees. There they are, swarming all over the place. I'm swatting them away. So by this time the yellow jackets are so in my face, and I've made pretty good progress cutting quite a good length off of that log. I'm just about ready to start hauling these rounds out of here and rolling them down the hill to the truck below. Kind of checking above me to make sure there's no limbs that are going to fall above me. I'm going to cut into this fir round that's a little bit drier, just so I have a few extra chunks. But again, the yellow jackets are persistent here, so I'm trying my best not to get stung.